have some more thrift store Christmas flips that I've been working on, and I want to share this with you. I have these picture frames that are all random sizes and shapes, and I'm going to take a couple of them and turn them into some Christmas decor. And then the other ones, I am going to add some really pretty fruit prints and make them look like vintage art. And a couple of other items that I thrifted that I'm going to fix up. Hello everyone, and welcome to Soul Station. I started with this tree that I had thrifted. There's a set of 3 and they have these red styrofoam berries on them, and the paint had come off the berries. And so I took the golden ticket and painted all these little berries gold. I did not have any red paint, otherwise I would have done red, but I just needed to use what I had, and I think it turned out pretty good. I'm using golden ticket on this next item, and this is a thrift store pot that I found, and I love the pedestal bottom on it. Last night, Eden and the boys were here and we were making sugar cookies and gingerbread cookies. I had to find my cookie cutters as they were still in storage from our old house, which we moved out of 5 years ago. In case you're new here, my husband and I have been building a house here in the mountains of Montana, and it's taken us 2.5 years because we are doing every little thing ourselves. I also picked up this gold cherub. I think these are so pretty and they add just a sweet vintage touch here and there, whether it's at Christmas time or any other time of the year. I'm dry brushing some white paint on it just to soften the gold and make it look a little bit aged. I'm doing the same thing with this metal reindeer candle holder that I thrifted. I'm going to just dry brush it with some white paint. So as I'm searching through all of our stuff that's been in storage for so long, I'm looking everywhere in our basement, in totes and in boxes, realizing just how many things I had packed up and haven't even seen or needed in all this time. I found a lot of kitchen things, but I could not find my cookie cutters. Once the gold paint was dry, I dry brushed some white paint over that. I felt pretty bad because Eden and the boys were upstairs waiting to use the cookie cutters on the dough we had just made, and I couldn't find them. So I walked upstairs and thought, okay, I'm gonna check the garage and see, maybe they might be in there. Had these thrift store picture frames for a while, and I painted them white, and then I painted the keys that are glued onto the top of them with the golden ticket, and then I just dry brushed some white over that. And these picture frames, I am going to add some vintage music sheet paper with an IOD Christmas transfer on it and use them as some Christmas decor. So, with my mind still on finding some cookie cutters, I went into the garage because we still have several boxes and a few totes stored out there as well. I searched and searched through all the shelves and boxes I could reach. I stood there feeling really frustrated, and I looked up at the few boxes and totes on an upper shelf, and I saw through one of the clear totes a little white wood cross and another wooden cross next to it that spelled out Jesus. This was one that my grandpa had made. As I stood there staring at that tote, I thought surely my cookie cutters will not be in there because that is probably just home decor. but something inside of me compelled me to look in that tote. I used a piece of sandpaper on the back of these picture frames to clean them up a little bit, but I didn't get a video of that. So I grabbed our rickety old wood ladder that we use in the garage and I climbed on it as high as I could. Wobbling around, I reached for the tote and pulled it down, realizing it was much fuller than I had expected. I carefully and slowly lowered the tote down to the ladder, climbed down, opened the tote, and laying right on top of everything in there were all my cookie cutters. Whenever I take apart old picture frames or vintage artwork, it's so interesting some of the things you will find behind the picture that's in there. So, with the biggest smile on my face, I carried that tote into the house shouting, "I found the cookie cutters! Jesus helped me find the cookie cutters!" The incredible thing about it to me is how I wasn't asking him to help me, and yet he was still there. I was distracted, looking hard and fast in all the wrong places, and they were right there in plain sight the entire time, in a clear tote next to a cross that spelled Jesus. Now for this next picture frame, this is pretty large, and I have some vintage inspired artwork that I purchased off of Etsy. I think the artwork fits well in this mat, but I just don't really love the pink trim that's on the mat, and so I'm going to use Golden Ticket and paint the pink gold. So can I describe to you just how loved I felt in that very moment looking at those cookie cutters in that tote next to the cross? Even in the busyness of life, when I am trying to do things in my own strength, or I am distracted and looking for answers or satisfaction in so many other places, when I am being unfaithful, God is faithful. I'm going to open this picture frame up and see if the vintage inspired artwork that I got from Etsy will fit in here, because I have a print that's a little bit smaller. I think I just need to trim off the edges and it should fit okay. God is there. He wants to be my answer, my satisfaction. When we seek the Lord with all our heart, He gives us everything else we could want or need in this life. And even if I'm not being faithful in a moment to seek Him first, ask Him for His help first, He's still there, being faithful and being love to us, because He is only that, a loving Father, Savior, protector, and provider. I like to use paper packaging tape on the back of artwork and picture frames because it just cleans it up really nicely. It holds it together well and it gives it a nice finished look. I will put a link in the description box below for the products that I used here. He is the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, yet He's our friend. He is the great I Am, and yet He longs to hold our hand and walk this life with us. Okay, let's take one more look at the before of these thrift store projects. I'm especially liking how the vintage inspired fruit art looks in these frames. The only thing I'm thinking of is maybe taking out the glass so that it has a little bit more antique look to it. But what do you think about it? Do you like how they are, or should I take out the glass? And also, do you like these IOD transfers on the vintage music paper? I think the green velvet adds just the right touch to this pot, and I've used this velvet ribbon for a couple years now, and I plan to keep it up through my winter decor. Well, I hope that you have been encouraged and inspired and find some great ideas for your own home and space. May God bless each and every one of you.